All right, we got our repair all done there, all sanded down, all taped up, ready to go. So let's go mix some primer up. I want to go over a few things. I had somebody ask me a question about mixing by weight, and mixing by weight is never a good idea, guys, and I'm going to show you why. I know it's confusing because we use a scale to mix paint, but most all scales are calibrated to parts, not grams. If you want to measure grams on a paint scale, you have to change it to grams, not parts. And when you mix parts, they take into account the different weights of the different toners. So let's say, for instance, that we have 4 ounces of high build primer, okay? 4 ounces of high build primer will weigh more than 4 ounces of hardener, because the hardener is not a high solid, it's a lot lighter liquid. So if you put 4 ounces by weight on a scale, these quarts are for comparison. Scale's zeroed. There's a quart of green. It weighs 1,082 grams. Yeah, here's a gallon or a quart of magenta, and it weighs 1,061. So there's a 20-gram difference in those two cans. So both have a quart in them, but by weight the cans are different. So if you measured these two components by weight and put 4 parts of this in and 1 part of that by weight, your calculations will be off. Same with this quart, you know, 466. It's different again than the other two. You'll run into that with the activator. Is always much thinner than whatever you're activating usually. Usually your clear is thicker than the hardener. The primer is almost always thicker than the hardener. So if you measure 4 ounces of primer out and then put an ounce of activator, it's going to be off by weight. That's why we measure by parts. That's why they have the columns, you know. You got your 4 parts and your 1 part, and they don't do it by weight, it's by parts, actual parts. So the only accurate way would be to use a cup, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 of the hardener, or use the actual mixing cup. But measuring by weight is never a good idea unless you have 2 components that weigh the exact same weight. So hopefully that answers that question. That's why I always use a mixing cup. The only time I use the scale is when I'm doing a formula. And when I mean a formula, this is how the formulas come out. You know, this is the paint for that. Oh, this is some Viper Red. This is from my Toyota here. But anyway, Viper Red, you know, it takes 54, that's a toner, 260 parts of Viper, or the red. 70 takes 6.5 parts. 22 takes 4.8, and then, you know, so on and so on. And this is not in cumulative. You can mix the paint where the number gets bigger and bigger, or you can mix each component by part. We choose to do it by part. It's easier to recalculate if for some reason you have over pour. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question. Use a mixing cup. Don't try to measure by weight. You're going to trick yourself into not mixing your product correctly. You'll get the wrong amount of hardener, and it can cause, you know, ringing, shrinking, product not to dry correctly, a number of different issues. I know that I have good friends on YouTube that just pour this stuff together, a little of this and a little of that, and that works good for them. And you know, they might not be doing a car that they're been working on all their life, that it's stuck in their garage that they want to get done. You know, it might be a used car, and it never hurts to measure the stuff out and use a mixing cup and make sure that you have the proper ratios, because it's a chemical reaction, you know, and you don't have the proper components mixed properly, it's not going to react properly. You don't get enough hardener in the paint, it can, or in the primer, it can get hard to the touch. You can sand it, but then when you reintroduce solvent to it on top of it, it can cause you a problem. So most of the time people put too much hardener in. A lot of times I'll sell paint to guys that don't use cups. They'll buy a gallon of primer, and I pretty much know that I need to keep extra hardener for the clears and the primers that I sell, because guys are always going to call and say, hey man, I ran short on hardener. And those are the guys that aren't using cups. The guys that buy mixing cups from me buy clear and hardener at the same time, primer and hardener at the same time. If you find yourself running short on one or the other, then more than likely you're not following the instructions and mixing it properly. So that's the other reason to use a cup, is that you have a hardener and a clear that goes together, and you can use those two. And when you get to the end of the gallon of clear or hardener or whatever you're using, you know, it'll be time to buy both. So we're mixing up a little of this buff primer here. We got a gold color, so this will be good. We're going to use the Velda starting line. This is a 4-to-1 high solid primer. No reducer. Just going to go straight high build. So there we go. This isn't quite as high as the HS3. It's much thicker than this, but I do like this. Has plenty of build and has really good holdout. So let's go in there and throw some primer down. So I had a buddy come by. He's painting a dragster for his son, and he is one of the local converter builders in the area. I was going to do a video of a shop for you guys. FTI, they build some really nice race stuff. And he's telling me he's going into a new building and stuff, and he did a deal with Jegs. So he's going to be on the cover of Jegs, and he's going to be selling his converters there now. And he's getting ready to do something with Summit. So he'll be pretty much big times. And they race some really nice cars. And I was joking with him. He saw my Nova motor here I was working on, and everything they use is aftermarket, you know. So I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm trying to put this motor together. And he's like, man, I got all kinds of that stuff at my house. If you want to come over, you can have it. So there you go. You just got to be in the right place at the right time. But he gave me a couple of big blocks and stuff that he doesn't use anymore. They're using all the 600, 500 cubic inch stuff, you know, big motors for their cars. So I'm gonna go over there and pick up some of those parts and see what he's got, and might come up with some good pieces, you know, old school stuff, but good for us. I'm having trouble with the camera stand, guys. Don't bother. Shaky cam time. There we go. So we got that feathered back. I 320'd around the repair. Got it back taped so we don't have a big tape line, and we're just going to dust a little primer on there. We'll upload a couple videos, and when we come back out, we'll be ready to paint this afternoon. And it's going to go back Monday morning. Get it detailed tomorrow. What are you doing outside? What are you doing outside? Is your door open? Pressure up here. Go, little high build. Let your coats that on there and we'll be good to go. And that's about that. That's about that. So I'm going to try to stay in my sanded area. Try to keep the primer off the non-sanded paint, you know. I always try to feather it back a little with some 320 before you apply your primer. That way you don't have any edges that don't stick or won't sand back. So that's pretty much that. We soldered the hole shut with a solder gun over here. Come on, get out of the damn primer. Go on. And we put a little polyester glaze over that. And now we're going to put a little high build prime, and then we'll go with some base coat next and some clear, and ship it out of here and be done. What'd you do, get stuck in the building? Ah, come on. Come on. Alrighty, so I got some hubcaps. I got 3 new ones there, and then I got some mail from California the other day. So Mr. VW Gigolo, I'll be doing your cap for you. Sending that back. I got your box right here, and you sent me some old school hubcaps. Very cool. We'll get one of those painted up for you and get it out to you. I think I got one hubcap left, but it's going for the raffle, so I'll get some more painted, and I'm gonna take some over and hydro dip them at the hydro dip place, my buddy's place. I'm gonna do a couple camo ones, and then do some skulls and some carbon fiber on one too. I think that'll be pretty cool. So let me go ahead and shut this off. We'll go throw one more coat on that. I'll turn this back on when we throw some paint down on that this afternoon. Get that out of here, and we'll go pick that Cadillac up Monday and knock it out. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Trying to stay busy, feeling good. So taking advantage of the feeling good thing. So somebody else had asked me about cleaning plastic pieces, and this is the stuff right here that I like to use. Trisodium phosphate with some warm water. I know Mark used some of this on cleaning his car up. They got the grease on it. You can't over reduce it, you know. You don't want to put too much water. I make it a little on the strong side, and the key is the hot water. You got to use hot water with it. But this stuff works really good on plastic cover. If you get a slippery one, you hit it with a little of this, some warm water, and a Scotch-Brite pad, and it'll be a squeaker. So that's the other stuff I was telling somebody about. I only put all this paint up. He got some stripe color out for that dragster that he was doing. So that's what all this stuff is. Sounds like Mama's back. So let me shut this off, and I will talk to you guys in a little bit.